Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got an interesting show for you. This is about Spencer Rattler. I watched that game last night between North Carolina and South Carolina, and I don't mind telling you, Rattler got hit hard a bunch. And a couple times he got absolutely rocked. He had a lot of difficulty, and it really wasn't his fault. The offensive line for South Carolina is struggling something awful. And their running game was non-existent against North Carolina. And North Carolina's defense was porous last year. They were not very good. I don't think they just magically got great overnight. So, or over the offseason. I just don't think that's what happened. So let's take a look at this. Now, Drake May, who's a very good player, he had a little field day at times. He did throw 2 interceptions, but overall, you can tell that guy's a player. And he threw for 269 yards and a great percentage rate and threw 2 touchdowns. So overall, he played well, but he had plenty of time back there. He wasn't being rushed. Spencer Rattler, who really, I thought, kind of balled out a little bit, he really showed up. He was over 75%. I mean, 30 out of 39 for 350 yards, and he was running for his life, literally the whole game. And then as far as running the ball, I was actually shocked by Florida, who had 13 yards rushing against Utah, who is not Georgia, who is not Alabama, LSU, etc. This is worse. This is worse than that. 4 guys, including Spencer's, when you include his sacks in there, they had negative yardage. Look at this yards. They had negative 2 yards. I said the other day I'd never seen 13 yards rushing. I know I've never seen negative 2 yards rushing. This is South Carolina, an SEC quality club, and they're not a bad team. So this blew my mind. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was bad. Now, their wide receiver, Leggett, he balled out. That guy manned up and played fantastic. He had 9 receptions for 178, and he tried to win the game as best he could. He just couldn't pull it off. But on defense, North Carolina had 9 sacks. I added them up. 9 sacks they had. I've never heard of 9 sacks in one ball game. Have you? You ever heard of 9 sacks?
9 times.
9 times.
So, maybe if it's Little Sisters of the Poor playing Georgia, you might see 9 sacks, but not South Carolina versus North Carolina. I would have never dreamed that. I would have thought worst case scenario, South Carolina would run for 100 yards and there'd be 3 sacks. Because sometimes Spencer Rattler will hold the ball a little bit too much, and, he kind of tries to do a little too much at times, but I just don't think that was the case last night. He just had people all over him, and if you can't run the ball, okay, then the defense knows you're going to pass. Well, they're going to pin their ears back and come at you. So their inability to run the ball has really hurt them. And it's a combination. I don't think it's the running backs. I'm not convinced of that, because it sure seemed like those defensive linemen were they were in the backfield the whole game. So maybe the offensive line just hasn't gelled, or maybe it will later, because if you remember, South Carolina was kind of terrible at first last year, and then they kind of got their crap together and wound up winning 2 huge games. One was against us, unfortunately, and then Clemson. And folks, just to give you an idea how unhappy some of these South Carolina folks are, this is actually a YouTuber that covers them pretty heavy.
That game, it was awful. A man just absolutely dominated up front by North Carolina's defensive line, by North Carolina. 9 sacks. We gave up 9 sacks last night. North Carolina had 17 sacks all of 2022. Just piss poor. Just absolutely awful. Spencer Rattler last night was 39 for 353 yards. No touchdowns. No touchdowns. No interceptions, though. He didn't throw any picks last night. I have one thing to say. He's a baller. He deserves a freaking medal of courage for last night, for what he did. He was abused all night long, and it wasn't his fault. And I had people in the comment section, idiots, last night typing. They were trolling, I'm sure, that he's hot garbage, he's terrible. No, he's not hot garbage, and he's not terrible. He's got an arm. He's not allowed to put it on display. It was just abysmal. Negative yards rushing. Negative. That was from the 22 yards of sacks that were negative yardage that Spencer Rattler took last night. Dak Joyner, 12 rushes for 23 yards. And they say, well, he ain't no running back. You know, SEC running back. How would you know? How would you know? He's not even, you're not even blocking for him, opening up any holes for the guy. He can't, somebody saying that Spencer Rattler is hot garbage. It's just, that take was just so moronic and made me so daggum agitated. I couldn't stand it. All I heard in videos, all I heard from Shane Beamer, all I heard from these press conferences that I've been watching all of July, all this stuff, all I've been hearing is how hard we've been working, how much we've been grinding, how difficult training camp was, how it's made me better, though, how difficult it was. It doesn't look like you guys did anything all summer. It literally didn't. It looked like you sat around with Carolina Jackpot and drank Miller Lights and ate Debbie cakes. You ate fudge rounds all summer. It doesn't look like you put in any work. And I know they did, but I just, this is going to be a long season, and this is why I don't get high expectations. Some of these people sitting there, I think we can go 9-3 this year, Jackpot. I really do. And that's great. I mean, I love it when people have an optimistic attitude. You know, we need people like that in the world to have optimism and have a good attitude about things. But when there's a fine line between being optimistic and being delusional. And
yeah, you can tell in Carolina world things aren't things aren't happy. But I'll tell you what, I'll link that. If you want to watch the whole video, I'll link it underneath the description. Just go underneath the video and description, and it'll be right there. You can hit that, and you can watch that whole video of Carolina Jackpot. So I don't give up hope on him by any stretch. And Spencer Rattler's a good player. You know, he's starting to show that he can play, even after a terrible start last year. But I am concerned about him. If you're going to get sacked 9 times and knocked down almost every play, you know, he was limping by the end of the game.
You walk over, but you're limping back.
Yeah, he was definitely limping back, and they got to protect him better than this, or he's not going to make it through the season without an injury. And I don't like seeing anybody get injured on any team. I don't care. You'll never hear me say that I'm happy to see a soul even get a sprained ankle. But anyway, I just don't like to see injuries. And I know I'm being a little bit of a smart aleck, but I'm seriously concerned about him making it through the season if he's going to get hit that many times, and I'm hoping the offensive line, just come on. You've got to do a better job than that. You just do. You know, and South Carolina blows my mind. I've never seen anything quite like it. I was expecting South Carolina to win that ball game or to get beat in a shootout, maybe 45-38 or something like that. Not the way they got beat. What was it, 31-14 or whatever? So, you know, North Carolina's going to score points. That's just the way it is. Drake May's a great quarterback. He's going to play in the NFL on Sundays. But you've got to be able to run the ball, and you've got to be able to protect your quarterback, South Carolina. And Rattler's actually pretty mobile. So 9 sacks is a shocker. So anyway, we'll see how it plays out. Maybe they'll improve that. Like I said, they got better last year, and they may very well this year. If you like this content, be sure to hit that button right there. It's on your right, my left, subscribe button. I would appreciate it. And right over here's the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.